Hello, all. Happy Thursday. Just admitting some people here.
Good morning, Kendra.
Good morning / good afternoon for anybody on the East Coast.
Hello. I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to give it a minute for some people to join us. So for today, I figured we've had some fairly small groups excuse me, brain is gone this morning. So we've covered a fair few topics in recent weeks. And I just wanted to kind of have an open forum today and see if there was any questions that people had, any topics that they'd like to go into a little bit more depth on, because I know some of our conversations have spilled over to other conversations that we ended up cutting short due to time constraints. So I'd really like to dig into the weeds on any questions, because I know we've talked about simple versus compound interest. We've talked about interest rates. We've talked about using your own bank for self-financing as opposed to using third-party banks. We've talked a bit about creating the bank itself. We've talked about budgeting. We've talked about, sorry, let me just let people in. We've talked about, the grammar of retirement funding. So I kind of just wanted to give people some space to ask any questions that they have.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. My question is, can the LP 360 program be used for business entities as well as individuals?
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, if I approached an entity like a funeral home or a grocery store or a doctor's office, and I want to know how would I approach them if it's liable, and how can I use the software for the understand, that it could be. I just wanted to know more about that.
So there's actually multiple ways in which it can be used. So sorry, let me just admit people here really quickly. Okay, so to answer your question, there are a number of different ways that Life Plan 360 could be used for the small business. So you have a small business that is a sole proprietorship, right?
Okay.
So they can actually, as a sole proprietor, which most of us are sole proprietors, or we have a business partner, but we're all, we're it type of businesses. Yeah. In that case, these people don't have a solid retirement strategy through an employer. Even people who have a retirement strategy through an employer don't necessarily have a solid one. That being said, if we're looking for retirement for this small business, yes, we can go through that and show them what their retirement could possibly look at using the software. Again, the spending tab in the software, once you've gone through all the other steps and going through the spending tab, showing them what their retirement can look like. So let me just answer that. Obviously, you're referring to debt elimination. Do you have software? And if so, do you offer software to agents? Sal, I will get to that in 1 second. Let me just finish answering Robert's question. So if you're looking for, let me just admit people. Sorry, multitasking. Okay, yeah. So if you're looking for utilizing the bank for someone's business, that's when it gets really cool, because again, you can utilize the software to show them how to build the bank, but then you have to teach them even more how to use it for a business function. So they can actually write up a contract between themselves and their business.
Like 2 seconds here.
Sorry, 1 second. So So they can write a contract between themselves and their business such that they are loaning their business money. Any
Mhm.
interest paid on that loan is tax deductible to that business.
Mhm.
And then they pay their own personal bank back from their business income.
Mhm.
And, that it grows over time that they are then using for their retirement. So for a business owner, it's like a double whammy. They get, extra bonus because they are using their bank. They become the private lender to their own business. Does that make
I
sense?
see. Yes. All right. So there are a multiplicity of small businesses all across America.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the additional piece to that is, let's say there's a small business that has 4 or 5 employees.
Yes.
4 or 5 employees does not really lend itself toward having a 401k or anything along that line that is employer sponsored. And even if
Okay.
they have an employer sponsored plan, it's unlikely that they're getting a match if there's only 4 or 5 employees. So in that case, it is something that you could go into a small business and say, we can show your employees how to have a guaranteed retirement, protect themselves and their family along the way, and all of the benefits thereof, along with the sole proprietorship they can lend to their own business, along with their funding their own retirement. The limits are it's the sky's the limit, really,
Yes.
is how that goes.
So I don't want to take up all the time, but this would be for not only the employees, but also for the employer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody gets a bank. It all works.
This is wonderful.
And
And I'm sure most business,
if it's funded as an employee benefit, let's say sorry, admitting people, if it's funded as an employee benefit, say the employer contributes a certain amount of money to this, it is tax
yeah,
deductible to the employer because it becomes an employee benefit. And then should they
yeah.
ever leave the company, the employee can continue to put into
Oh,
that and fund their own, and it's an asset to them that they can take with them.
that's pretty cool. That's really good. All
So
right.
does that answer your question?
Oh, it does. You can, that's a way of getting um the best of both worlds. You get individuals and you get business entities all in one, even with a small business. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I can tell you from personal experience, it is very difficult to get into a small business without a gimmick, I guess, as it were. As soon as you start touting yourself as a financial planner, or if you can do that under your licensure, or an insurance salesman, yeah, we're good. But if you can get into them on a business level,
Yes.
that you're teaching them something. You are another project that has been shown through ICANN before is teaching businesses how to divorce their personal credit from their business. So that's a way that we've been getting into small businesses in our practice, because once we've shown them how to, protect their house, for example, from anything that goes on with their business, you can then open that gate to discuss other things with them. So yeah, it's difficult to get into the small business, but once you're in and you have solved a problem for them, that's a great time to I hate to use the term upsell, but that's kind of what it is. But you're
Yes.
building that relationship, starting with something small, but then you become the asset. You become the guru that knows.
Yes, because I'm licensed also in property and casualty.
Right. So, something along that line, getting in, being with these people. And even if you are not the expert and you do not feel comfortable talking to them about, let's say, building the specific bank or building it for that specific need, because you're not comfortable enough talking about it, I mean,
Yeah.
how many people do we have on this call right now? There is somebody that fits that bent that you can say, actually, I know somebody who can help you with this. They're a colleague of mine. And, you know, even if you split the commission, it's
Yeah, it's still
better.
quite,
It's still quite lucrative. And
it is.
you know, you don't want to ever put your license on the line by speaking out of turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just food for thought. We've gotten a
Great.
bunch of other questions in the chat. So
No,
let me
we're
scroll
good. We're
back
good.
up. So obviously you're referring to debt elimination. Do you have software? And if so, do you offer the software to agents? Also, do we have to pay for it? So debt elimination, yes. So for the most part,
Hey, Lorraine, why didn't you bring me something that I can cash?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Okay, I don't think that's a question. Okay, so yes, debt elimination is an important part of the process. So let me actually just pull it up. That might be easier. Life plan 360. Do. Give me a second. It always boots me out. Which honestly, if you're sitting with a client and you've been going through a bunch of stuff and you go to the next page and it's booted you out, just, you know, oh, bear with me 1 second. It's booted me out. It's actually safer for you this way. You know, make it a benefit to them that they have to be patient with you. So let me pull up a client. We have a lot of people coming in. Sorry. Trying to do multiple things at the same time. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Come on. Share screen. Share screen 3. Share. Okay, so this, can everybody see where it says 360?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so this is the software. If I was going to pull up a client, I'm sure I have a dummy client in here that I can use.
Darlene. I know he don't go to nobody's house looking like that.
Okay.
Oh my.
So John Q client, I know that one was a dummy. So we're gonna look at this one. So I know somebody asked about showing the software. This is the software. And I'm gonna go through it super fast. I do trainings on this. I think in the coming weeks, I am going to start doing a structured system where, you know, there's 4 to 5 weeks in a month. On the, let's say for the sake of argument, the first Thursday, we will review the software and all of the fun features inside the software. The second week, I'll probably do some sort of training on a product training, like how to run your own illustrations, to build a bank, how to run an annuity, what you can do with it. And then the other 2 weeks will be various financial concepts, Q&A, this type of thing. Always, I'm available for questions. If you have them when you jump on the call, please ask me. I try to get to all questions in the course of the hour. But so this is our software and I'm going to run through it very quickly. So this is the basic introduction page. This is the page where we figure out what our solve is. So if we're trying to solve for college, which is what a lot of our clients are coming to us for, you know, they're between 35 and 55. They make between 80 and $250,000 a year. And they go, I have no idea how to pay for my kids to go to school. Literally, I have a client who is 37 years old. They make right now approximately $200,000 as a family, and they have one child who is 2.5, and she actually said to me, she says, I have no idea how I'm going to send him to college. And it's okay, well, let's look at that. So because I mean, I can tell you right now that she can definitely send her kid to college, but she doesn't know that, and that's the important piece, that they know it, that they can look at their financial situation and have a plan, because you don't want to create sleepless nights. Our function is to make sure that our clients do not have sleepless nights. So this page is the overview. And I personally don't like going head to head with advisors. That's just not my wheelhouse. But for people who are comfortable burying the advisor, this is the page that you do it. I go through this page with every client anyway, who fits in that bracket, just to show them where their money is going, what they have coming up. You know, what is a budget? How about that? You know, it's an amazing number of clients that don't even know what a budget is. Can everybody please watch their background noise? Sorry, admit. And we're gonna mute some people. Okay. So we've got a monthly budget, you know, they get a paycheck, it goes into the monthly budget, and then they pay their bills, and whatever's left over at the end of the month goes into an emergency fund, and maybe they're saving for some qualified funds. So most people, by the way, don't know what qualified funds means. So you might have to say 401k, 403b, IRA, you know, anything in that, that wheelhouse. So again, I'm running through this super fast. I'll do a more in-depth training later on. Just want to be mindful of time. So this is our, you know, this is where we start building the bank. The first thing we have to do, so for anybody who hasn't seen this before, when you bring this up, this whole, anything under the client life plan 360 and assets, liabilities, monthly balance, all that will be blank. It will show nothing. And anything in red are numbers that I have changed. So, and you can update that. So basically what we do, so if I undo this, give me 2 seconds to show you how this works. No, update. No. Okay. So we have assets. So this client had $125,000 in savings, more or less. And, you know, this is just a savings account, like making 0.05%, you know, it's making nothing. It's sitting there and going backwards because of inflation, to be quite honest with you. So we put all that back in. We talk to them about each line item individually. There are lots of tools in here that we can talk to them about. 401k, the creator of the 401k said that money that is not matched may be better off in another vehicle. And again, guys, I'm not doing this justice right now at all. So we will go through this again in a more in-depth conversation, but I just want you guys to see it very quickly. So for the debt elimination, these are their debts. They've got 2 cars and a credit card. So, and I have another training that if they cannot pay off all of their debts at the same time, what order you would pay that in. And it's kind of a debt to payment ratio. To give you a very brief overview of how I do that, I divide the total cost of the debt into the payment and figure out the highest ones get paid off first. So anything with a 5% ratio is going to get paid off before something with a 2% ratio, because what we're doing here is we are buying cash flow. And the reason that we want to purchase cash flow is so that we can get rid of any other outstanding debts, and also build a cash flow for them to create savings so that they can build a bank. So notice that right now, after we've reorganized just their money producing assets, they have a monthly cash flow of $2,600, and they have a total starter bank of $132,000. So if we pay these off, update. Actually, I'm going to show you one more thing before we do that. So we're not going to pay this off right now. Update. So if they do just this and they continue to pay these on a monthly basis, when we get to step 4, we won't do that. They have $765,000 that they have saved over, what is that, 15 or so years, 17 years. Okay, so $750,000, guys. Keep that number in mind. Somebody write it down because I will forget. So now we're going to come back in here and pay these things off. Yes, update. Yes, update. Okay. Now we have a total starter bank of $102,000 and a monthly contribution of $4,200. Okay. So let's see how that has changed our savings in step 4. Just the money that they've saved over 17 years by paying off those debts today, we've got over $1 million. That's a $250,000 difference, guys. And what I always say about the money in this column on the left, all the way over here, is that this is money in a tin can under your bed. We have not added anything to it. And also, this is money in a tin can after we've paid for the kids to go to college. Okay. So what if you could get a guaranteed 40% growth over the next 17 years? And guys, just for the record, that is a deplorable rate of growth, because what that means is that you are dividing 40 by 17. So you're getting 2-point-something% in this example. In any illustration that we actually do, it's going to be higher than 2%, but just for the sake of argument to show them, because we can guarantee anything over 10 years at 40%, just for the sake of argument. So they're looking at a guaranteed growth of $1.4 million to retire with. And that is not including any of their current retirement assets, which anything that is in a 401k or a 403b with their current employer, they're going to have to check with the employer. Most of the time it cannot be moved. I have come across clients that can change some things to or partial distribution, not actually a loan. Actually, they're moving it. But usually that cannot be touched. But I asked them, will it grow? So in 17 years, okay, great. They're telling me that it's going to double or it's going to triple, or, I really don't know. Okay, great. So you don't know. Are you familiar with Einstein's rule of 72? Oh no, what's that? Great. So Albert Einstein, who we all know is a famous mathematist and physicist, came up with a rule of 72, which means that if you divide the interest rate that you are getting into 72, that's how long it will take your money to double. So somebody give me a number that they think is plausible that they should theoretically be getting in their 401k on an annual basis. Don't everybody jump up at once.
7%.
7, thank you. So 7%, calculate. Fabulous. Our money will double in 10 years at 7% interest. Okay, great. So in 17, it's going to double and then almost double again. So shall we go 3 times? Fabulous. So saying that we're putting in 3 times growth, that is another $1.4 million. So really what we're looking at is just shy of $3 million for this family to have in retirement. Okay, so then we move on to step 5, where we make them pick a product. So, we're planning for our kids to go to college, right? So should it be FAFSA free, not visible to the federal application for student aid? There we go. Great. Should it be liquid? Do we want access to it whenever we want? Great. And again, this is not exactly what I say. I usually go in a little more detail on each of these attributes, but just to do this quickly, should it be penalty free? With our 401k, if we take it out before we're 59 and a half, we're going to get hit with taxes and a 10% penalty. Is that really what we want? Is this a good thing? So no, maybe we want something that's penalty free, right? Great. Tax free. We know what the tax rate is right now. Do we know what it's going to be when we retire? Do we want to have to worry that we have to take out more income that we planned simply to pay the tax on it to make sure that we're maintaining our lifestyle? Okay, great. So maybe we should have something that's tax free, right? Great. Show that. How about guarantees? Do you like being on the roller coaster of wondering what the stock market is doing because of the war in the Ukraine, God forbid, whatever's going on in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world, or if there's another oil crisis? You know, the stock market goes up and down. How does that feel? Would something that has a guaranteed rate of growth be better? Great. Guaranteed, show. And then I would go through every single one of these, make them give me an answer. So, you know, ask, you know, how important is each one of these to you? And most of the time people are going to say that it's 100%, but some people will think that they have to rank them, so they won't always be 100%, but it's really for the sake of argument more than anything. Just trying to keep an eye on time to make sure I get to all of the questions. So then we can go through this. And really what it comes down to, I'm not going to click all of these right now, but the only one of these different vehicles that comes up with a yes in every single category is cash value life insurance. And then they are going to tell us that cash value life insurance is what they want, or they're going to say, why don't I know about this? Why does nobody do this? You know, and then you can answer that question. So those are the general scenarios. There is a lot more in the software, but just for the sake of time, like I said, I could dedicate a couple hours to going through the software, which we will do in future trainings. But so then we can come in here and it gives an overview that we can just print PDF, and actually we can just send this link directly to their email. And if we click on it, it comes through. And, you know, it gives the advisor's name. This one is Edward Rhodes, because he and I are on the same software because he owns the company. So yes, so we come through, it gives all the advisor information. It goes through the life circle, and then it goes through everything that we went through in terms of their current situation. It goes through everything to do with their savings information, everything that we changed about their lifestyle, and what they will end up with should they do this plan. It goes through the let's test the vehicles, and it shows them year by year what is going on in their life, what their mortgage schedule will be. You know, a lot of people are like, I need to pay off my house. I need to pay off my house. Okay, great. Well, let's take a look at when you can actually do that. So does that answer the question about the debt elimination? I'm not hearing a no, so I'm going to keep going. Is there a training video about the personal banking system? I'm new here and wasn't here when you talked about the personal bank. So yes, there are, and yes, we will be talking about personal banking in future videos. Admitting people. So I actually have a zero line example, which I do quite frequently. And actually, where's my pen? If I just pull up my whiteboard, I can do this super quick. Whiteboard. Okay. And it helps if I'm sharing the right screen, doesn't it? Okay. So share screen. I think it's, nope, share screen one. Okay, share. Can everybody see my whiteboard?
Yeah.
Great. So for the personal banking example, we're going to do this super fast. So this is our zero line. Is it better to dig yourself a hole slowly, a financial hole, slowly over time, or dig yourself a hole of the same size all at once and fill it back up? Which one's better?
Number two.
Number two. Okay. Honestly, I go through this with clients. It does not matter what anybody tells me. I'm going to go through it the same way anyway. A lot of people actually pick this one because it feels less painful if you don't know a lot about money. Either way, okay, great. So why don't we take a look at that and see how it goes? So we're going to say, for the sake of argument, that we are going to buy a car. And guys, I'm a financial consultant, not an artist, so please bear with me.
It looks like a sombrero.
Yep, like I said, I'm a financial consultant, not an artist. Okay, so how much do you spend on when you get a new car? How much do you spend on it? Anybody?
35,000.
$35,000? Perfect. So this is our $35,000 car. Okay, so how much is the payment on a $35,000 car on a 5-year loan?
Probably about $600 probably.
$600 a month. Okay, great. So $600. Okay. And we are paying this to the bank. Okay. And in this example over here, we are paying the same $600 a month to ourselves. And this example I use a lot when people tell me that, oh, well, you know, I don't want to borrow from my savings because I get a 0% loan. Okay, great. That's fine. No matter what they tell you for a percentage rate, use the same percentage in both examples. The point is that both of the examples need to be the same. So can anybody tell me what is a $35,000 car worth at the end of 5 years?
Probably $0. Probably like 5,000. It's really low.
Okay, honestly, it does not matter. Whatever number they give you is the number that you use. You know, somebody is going to tell me that, oh, this car will be worth $25,000 in 5 years. And I can tell you that the average lost over 5-year period is 60% equity lost in 5 years. My handwriting is terrible on the whiteboard. I'm sorry. Okay. So what did you say? It was worth $5,000? Great. 5K. I'm going to use the number that they give me always. So we now have a $5,000 car. Fabulous. So we spent $35,000 on this car over here, right? And that's gone to the bank. So that's gone. So we have negative 35K and we have a $5,000 car. So we have a $5,000 asset. So we're in the hole for $30,000, right? Is that true?
Yep, probably a little more.
Yeah, okay, great. On this side over here, we bought a $35,000 car. We paid ourselves back. Okay. So we're back at 0, right?
Yeah.
So we're at 0 and we still have that $5,000 car. So are we at a plus $5,000 position?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, probably more. We're actually up 40.
Yeah. Aren't we at a $35,000 better position? Because we can now take this $5,000 and go buy a new car if we wanted to, or a down payment on a house, whatever it is that you wanted to do. You can cash it in and we're still at our 0 line. So we can reutilize the same $35,000 plus the $5,000 that we have to go do something else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So to whoever asked the question, thank you for that, because this is the personal bank. This is how it works. You borrow from yourself, you pay yourself back, and oh, caveat, this money here grows as if it was never touched. I'll say that again. It grows as if it was never touched. We can self-fund. There are two ways to self-fund. We either go into debt and slowly pay it off, or we save and then we borrow from ourselves and we're back at zero. Okay. So what we're attempting to do is to ride this line here. So when we borrow from ourselves, we slowly pay ourselves back, but aren't we at better than zero? Because we borrowed from ourselves here, but we are over here when we're done paying it off because it's continued to grow. So really, guys, that is what we are attempting to do by utilizing a personal insurance bank. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I hope you guys followed that. I went through it very quickly, and this is a giant squiggle at this point. But I hope that's helpful. And let me go back up because I have missed a few questions. Yes, I showed the software. We'll go through that in depth in future. If the premiums are tax deductible for a business owner, then distribution will be taxed, right? So premiums are not tax deductible. So 1 second, let me admit people. So it's the loan interest that's tax deductible. So if you are borrowing from your personal bank to lend money to your business and you write up a contract, that interest is now tax deductible because it's interest. Any loan interest is always tax deductible for a business. So that is how it's the difference between business and personal is really what that is. So you are loaning money as a private investor, and that's perfectly legal. You can do that. But you're loaning it essentially to yourself, but that business is a separate entity because you have an LLC. So is there a cost to the software? Yes. I want to say it's $250 a month. So my name and contact details. My name is Kendra Rhodes. I'm sorry. I assume at this point that everyone knows me, and that is not the case. We actually have quite a few new people today. So my name, my email, next step.com, and that's me. So I've just put my name and contact details in the chat. Who are the carriers that you deal with for debt elimination? So debt elimination, I kind of gave a very fast overview of how to do that. We do that ourselves. So that is something that you teach someone how to do. They don't need to go to a debt consolidation company. I mean, doing that ruins your credit anyway. And really you can do it yourself. So even if they have other debts, and I have dealt with this with clients, I put them on a schedule. Like if you have debt, you are not my client right now. I mean, maybe if you have an old 401k that I can roll for you into something that's more guaranteed, like an annuity, great, but I'm not building you a bank if you're not out of debt. So I do a lot of financial education with clients, and I actually force them through a system of, you're going to deal with these debts and you're going to deal with them in this such and such a way. So once we've paid off other debts, we're going to take the loose income or the loose cash flow that's floating about, and you have to capture those dollars and give them a job because of Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law says that expenses will rise to match the available income. So that's Parkinson's law number 2. It is in the software if you need to look it up. I love Parkinson's laws. They apply to literally everything, and it's brutal, but we're all subject to it. Yes, where was I going with that? So Parkinson's law says that expenses will rise to match the available income. So if they are not recapturing those dollars to achieve their financial goal, they will disappear immediately. So I force people to become disciplined, because if they don't have that discipline before we build them a bank, they will not have that discipline after we build them a bank. That's how you lead to chargebacks. That's how you end up actually hurting a client, because they cancel a policy, they pull out the cash value when they are in that surrender period where they haven't broken even yet. And if they don't understand how it works and what the benefits are, you don't want to give it to them, because it won't go well. So that financial education piece is definitely important. So no, yes, 3,000, 6,000. Sorry. Thank you, Timothy, for your class participation. I did not see those until just now. How can anyone develop this sort of personal professional profile, which could be sent by link to a potential client? This would include a personal or business photograph. Inside the software, there is the ability to upload a photo of yourself. And let me tell you something, there is absolutely zero need whatsoever for you guys to hire a photographer or do a professional headshot session. I actually had my fiance's mother take a photo of me against a white wall with my phone, and that is my professional photograph. I put on a suit, did my hair, did my makeup. I didn't have the rolled out of bed look that I have now. You can put yourself together professionally, and you can save yourself the expense of a professional photographer. Have decent lighting. Always a good thing to have decent lighting. Have a plain background. And, all of us have decent cameras. Use your phone. So other than that, it's just about cropping it. Honestly, it really is. Do a little bit of research. Make sure that you carry yourself well. Stand up straight. Tilt your shoulder. Look directly at the camera. You don't want to be looking off into space somewhere. So take a couple of them, but you do not need to have a professional photographer to have a professional looking photograph. Minimize expenses, guys. Always important. And inside the software itself, you get your own web page. You can order business cards that may or may not have your picture on it, depending on what you want to do. Does that answer? I hope that answers that question. But yeah, that web page could be sent by link to a potential client.
Wonderful. Thank you.
How can I get started to help people with personal banking? So how can you get started to help people with personal banking? Definitely follow these trainings. We are here every Thursday from 12 to 1 Eastern, 11 a.m. to noon Central, and just adjust for your time zone. And I mean, it depends on how long you've been in the business, but I mean, definitely the software is a great tool for those of us who may or may not be good at math. Honestly, some days I'm good at math and some days I'm like, oh, let me get a calculator. So yeah, definitely like jump in, get on the software, rewatch the boot camps. I'm working on getting these trainings somehow integrated into somewhere that we can have available through the software, so that all of the training that I do is on demand. But yeah, it's jump in with both feet, like learn anything that you can. The software will walk you through most things. It even tells you what to say. Why am I on the wrong tab? Let me drag this over here. Okay, so if you go through the introduction, I really rushed through this just to go through everybody's questions. But literally it tells you what it does. And this is something that you can literally share your screen with a potential client and read it down because they like to see what you're saying as well. So if you go to step one, it tells you what, where does it gives me the details somewhere. Yeah, most of these have a, it tells you like a fiduciary is a person or a business who is legally responsible to act in the best interest of their client. If you go to Parkinson's Law number 1, work expands as to fill the time available for its completion. It even gives you an example. What are we solving for? Are we solving for college? Are we, what are your needs? Is there any major expense that you need to cover between now and retirement? Make a list. It literally, as you go through this, it tells you step by step what you're trying to say. So if you click on the info buttons, it literally gives you the script of how to run this down to the client. So the client doesn't know that they're not supposed to, that you're reading it down. They don't need to know that. You're just sharing with them what you're saying in a visual and auditory way. So it goes through and tells you exactly what to say until you get to a point where you have a rhythm and you know what you want to say to a client and you know how you want to say it to a client and how clients respond. You can even do role plays. Do role plays with your spouse, do role plays with your kids, do role plays. I don't know if you have a spouse or kids, so do role plays with a roommate or a friend. And honestly, great way to do this for people who are just starting out. Be like, hey, so I'm taking on a new project and I need someone to role play with me so that I understand what I'm doing and how people respond to this. Can you like make up some fake numbers? And you can give them a profile or you can not give them a profile. I find not giving them a profile is better because you'll be able to go through this with them and know when the numbers are getting less and less fake. And they start to see it for their own benefit. And they may or may not come back to you later and be like, so that thing that we talked about, can we like go through it for real? And if they come back and do that, fabulous, you've got a client. And if they don't, you at least have the experience of having gone through the software and run down what it was like to go through this so that you get a sense of where you need to work on things and you get a sense of what people respond to as well. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Hi, Kendra.
Hi, what's up?
I have a quick question to verify something. Is that okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, about last Thursday, we were talking about the loan interest, talk about interest, compound and simple interest. So you were saying student loan, car loan, mortgage, and credit card is all, you said daily compound interest?
Yes. They all compound daily.
Daily, so it means, okay, so student loan, let's say they say 6%.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 6% a year, right? Or 6%.
It depends on how the contract is written up.
Okay.
But I did some research and yeah, a lot of them it compounds daily. So the
Okay.
interest is getting added back to
I have a reference number. It is
the balance and the principal.
236.
Let me just mute some people. Okay. Yeah, so it's getting the interest is getting added back to the principal on a daily basis. So it compounds.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe if you have that research
I just Googled it, honestly.
Okay. So so then there's the next question is the the whole life that we build up and then the loan taking out
Mhm.
right? So I was told the loan we're taking out, like, let's say right now, it's a loan rate is 4.75, let's say.
Yep.
And then so that is on the separate, on the insurance company will pay that money to loan that out, okay? But our money, the cash value is still in the policy, just like never touch, and it
Yep.
grows with, 3 or 4% guarantee, plus the dividend compounding.
Yep.
So the 4.5 is a simple interest. Is that true?
Yes. So it does depend on the company, but most of them are a simple interest
Right.
loan. So
Yeah,
it's if you take out $10,000 and it's a 5% interest, it's like $500 a year
right.
interest.
And then it start over again. If you don't pay it back, then it start again for 500.
Right.
Added on to the loan. So I just want to verify that. So that's why it make some people, they say, okay, I take it out, let's say 5%, and then I'm guaranteed with 5%, so it's a wash, but it's not a wash because you have the 5% in your cash value growing compound while you're borrowing 5% simple. That means you 5% you divide by 12 months.
And that is precisely why Albert Einstein said that those who understand compound interest will earn it. Those who don't will pay it.
Right. So then let's say they just take out, let's say 50,000 to buy a car, but let's say if they pay back like 6 months, it's not 5%, it's just 2.5% because it's the loan, so that's
Right.
good for people that do flipping or
Yep. And
buy
car
and sell,
loans.
car loans, so they put it back, and it's those are the things that some when while we're talking about simple and compound interest, that's where to grow, if they understand it, to grow the money fast. So but yeah, those two. Okay, thank you.
And car loans are one of those things where you're sitting in the dealership and has anybody ever been sitting in the dealership and they told you what the interest percent was that they were trying to give you on the loan through, let's say, Toyota financing is going to give you for your car? Anybody ever even asked? Exactly. Nobody ever asks, and they don't tell you. What they tell you is the payment, because that's what you care about. Oh, I can afford $300 a month. I can afford $600 a month. That works. And
That's
when
true.
you say to them, oh, actually, $600 is a little bit outside my budget, they go back and they crunch some more numbers and they come back to, what was a 60-month loan for $600 a month. They now come back and say, actually, it's this is what I can do for you. We've done some number crunching and it'll work out great. You can have a $475 payment for 84 months. Isn't that fabulous? They didn't tell you that your interest rate just went up.
Yeah.
They didn't tell you that you're going to pay more money over time, but they have made that car fit in your budget. Isn't that great?
And,
how they do it.
also, I don't know, oh, sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
You run into some client that you do the Life Plan 360, and then at the 401k say, oh, how long you think it's going to be double, and then at that point they say, like, your plan is kind of slow. I'd rather put in for 401k or mutual fund or stock, and that grow that money faster. So how do you handle that? I know that, of course, there's no guarantee and all that stuff on their end.
Yep.
But,
So I never, ever say ever that a 401k is crap. It is, but I will never, ever say that. I let Ted Benna say it. He created the 401k, and you can run people through the history of the 401k. that it was created in 1978, that at the time, the lowest tax bracket was 40 something percent. You know, you didn't have to be making that much, but it was like $150,000 and you were paying 70% tax. It was ridiculous. So yeah, at that point, Ted Bennett creating the 401k, you save money for retirement now, don't pay tax on it, let it grow. And when you pull it out, pay taxes on it then made sense, because in theory, taxes in the 70s were incredibly high. That's a fact. In theory, taxes would come down, which they did. But we are now in 2022. Our lowest tax bracket is 10%. Our highest is 37.5. So, you know, we're in the lowest tax bracket in the history of the IRS. Taxes have nowhere to go but up, which I let them come to that conclusion. That's my additional commentary for this conversation, but I let them come to that conclusion. You know, give them the facts, let them come to the conclusion. Never offer an opinion about their 401k, because they probably really like their administrative advisor at their job. They probably like their financial advisor that they've been, you know, neighbors with for 20 years. I never insult these people. I never tell them that what they are doing is wrong. I let them come to that conclusion on their own, because when they come to that conclusion on their own, I can help them fix it. You want to do something differently? I will show you options all day long. And we will help you design your own journey to get to where you want to be. That is literally the way I promote myself. I will say that I'm a financial consultant. I will tell people that I'm a professional solver in the financial space. That my job is to take the time to get to know my clients and show them in a holistic way a roadmap and help them build their own plan to get them to where they want to be, whether that is personal banking, you know, the self-funding insurance bank, whether that is I've just graduated from college and I'm getting my first job and I need a budget. Okay, great. You need a budget, but you also need to start saving for your future. You know, there are multiple inroads, but your job is to listen. Your job is to be a therapist sometimes, and, you know, to commiserate with people. Honestly, I spent almost 2 hours with somebody, I don't know, yesterday, the day before, and I am probably not going to make any money from her directly. And that is fine by me, because I did my due diligence to tell her what, you know, she's been to multiple lawyers and multiple financial planners, and nobody has told her what she needs to know. Nobody's actually explained anything to her. So when I come in and I listen to what she has to say, and we had a second meeting and I did my due diligence and explained, okay, so this is what that means. This is what that means. This is what that means. At the end of the meeting, she's like, I feel really bad. I don't feel like you're going to make any money off of this conversation. How can I make sure that you make money? I gave her a little bit more about what I do, what other things in the financial space that I do, and basically said, you know, if there's anybody that you know that you feel that I can help, feel free to give them my number. But, you know, putting in that time for that person is worth it to me on a personal and professional level, because she needed to be heard. She needed information that nobody was seemingly giving her. Does that make sense to people?
Yep.
Okay, so we're at the top of the hour, but there's a couple more questions in here that I just want to answer really quickly. Does it make sense to put this in your business name, the actual policy? It depends on what you're actually attempting to accomplish. I generally would put the policy in the individual's name as the owner. Who qualifies to get the personal banking, high income earner or low income earner? Again, it's not about qualifying. This is actually a life insurance policy, and we can go through a build in a future training. So it's more about their health, and in terms of their income, it's more about their credit rating. than their actual income rating. There is a caveat to that. The general rule of thumb is that their first year death benefit cannot be higher than 20 times their annual income. However, that being said, I've written policies on families who are making $150,000 a year. I've written policies on a single mom who's making $50,000 a year. So, and just for the record, like I live in Massachusetts, I have clients all over the country. So income is very relative. But it's not about high income earner or low income earner. There's a family down south that is a client of mine, that they were trying to figure out how to put their kids through college without going broke. And, when that kid graduates from college and gets their first job, they're going to be coming to me to figure out, how do I budget? How do I start saving? They're not going to be making, $200,000 a year like their parents are right off the bat, but that is something that I can solve for them. So to answer your question, you build the bank personal to them to achieve their goals and based on what they have to start somewhere. So I hope that was helpful, even if a bit vague. I had an urgent call and missed a good part of your presentation. If it's recorded. So to forward anything, I need email addresses to be able to do that. How much is the software? I believe it's $250 a month. That seemed to be a common question. What's the current guaranteed interest rate paid by carriers? It depends on the carrier, what the guaranteed interest rate is. The approximate total is about 5.5%, including the dividends. And we can go over a build in a future training. I think that might be a good thing that we should do next week, is run through a build of, okay, great, we have this client, what do we do with their numbers now? So that everybody can see how that works. And also, when you're not going backwards, 5.5% every single year is fabulous when you consider that the stock market averages about 3.5% to 4%. And there's a huge difference between interest, APR, and yield, which again, I don't have time to go over today, but we will go over in a future training. Someone remind me, I will talk about that. The problem with the 401k is when you start to take money out, you pay 50% in taxes. Yep. Selby at Gmail. Let me just copy that. Control copy, and I'll see if I can find that. Do I have a notepad somewhere? Let me stop sharing because I keep way too many things open. Control V, Control V. Great. Where did my chat box go? Okay. Control copy. Do any other questions? So clients would not use the software directly. The agent would subscribe to it and walk a client through it. So there's no reason for a client to subscribe to the service if they're not going to be writing business and showing this to other people. Who are the carriers that I use for this strategy? Okay, so personally, my favorite is Foresters for a number of reasons. It's an easy illustration to run. You can do it yourself. That's probably the carrier that I will show everybody how to use. They have what is called a PDF or premium deposit fund. So for a lot of people who have a significant amount of money right now, they can't necessarily dump all of that savings into year one. and because it would just bump the death benefit up too high. So if you can spread that, and I will explain what I mean by that next week when we go over an actual build. Remind me, I'll go over it. But yeah, the premium deposit fund allows you to spread that out over a couple of years to maximize your cash building potential. So yes, we'll go over that next year. Next week. And Mutual Trust Life is another popular one that we use in terms of rolling over their retirement funds into guaranteed products. Keisha, for the agent, what do you mean?
I was just answering his question that he had about, is it for the agent or?
Oh, yep. Yes, the software is for the agent. So for retirement strategy, like if they have a significant amount of money in a Roth or an IRA or an old 401k that they can move, you're going to want to make sure that that is not subject to market fluctuations if that is something that they are interested in, which is another thing that we can talk about on a future training. But I personally prefer SILAC if it is available in your state. The Denali is a fabulous product. It is not available in every state. So Nationwide has a really good product. Athene has a decent product. Really what you're looking for in an annuity is something that does not have fees built into it. You preferably something that has a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit, also without fees. And I personally do not use crediting strategies that involve fees. Anytime you involve fees, you are eating away at the account value, because eventually there will be a 0 year, and you don't want a 0 year to cost your client money. So that being said, I've now run 8 minutes over, and I know I try to be mindful of everybody's time. Anything urgent last minute before we adjourn?
Come on, Popsito.
Not too much. How are you doing?
Doing without. Times are hard.
Not seen you much lately.
Okay, let me just be people. Great. So if there's nothing else, I hope this was helpful. For any new people, definitely join us on future trainings, and we're working on getting a place within the software that all of the recordings will be available for anyone who subscribes. So that is hopefully going to be soon. And yep, happy holiday weekend. I forgot this weekend is Memorial Day. So everybody have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.
So next week, have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Mm.